Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to This is Mariya. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the different signs that your spirit guides or your loved ones that have passed on may be sending you on a daily basis or once in a while to support you or to send you a message. Yeah. Now, before we dive into the topic for today, just one quick announcement. My second book is out. It's called The Rose Codes Book of Initiations. It is a book about divine feminine. It is a book about connecting with the gentler parts of yourself. It is about the rose lineage as well. And rose lineage is a lineage of female priestesses and goddesses. And the lineage has existed from ancient times, essentially. And it contains the lore of the feminine mysteries, if you will. And so my next book is a deep dive into the feminine mysteries. And the book essentially teaches you about how to work with your feminine energies. So I sincerely hope that you check it out. It's available through Amazon. And at some point I'm also going to launch the audio version, but not yet. All right, my darlings, let's settle in. What are the signs that your spirit guides, your loved ones who have passed on are sending you and you may not even be aware? Let's maybe move from the simplest signs to things that need a little bit more dissecting. So from the simpler signs to the more complex. Also, to be honest, because your spirit guides want to support you, because your loved ones who have passed on want to support you, the very common signs they may be sending you are the ones that are considered to be a sign from spirit. All right, so very often they would resort to using a particular symbol because they know that you would know that it is a sign of alignment or a divine intervention of some sort. Ironically enough, over the past couple of years, what has become more frequent is receiving an 1111 from your spirit guides or your loved ones. From the other side. That has not been the case always. It's a very new phenomenon, and partially it's, thanks to social media and a lot of brands that have recently come out with 1111. And of course, with the proliferation of, the electronic clock and people just telling time by their phones, you see 1111 a lot more frequently. Back in the days of the mechanical clock, it's not really something that you would notice all too much. And so 1111 is a newer sign. It used to be a lot more diverse of a sign from the other side, but usually lately, what it does mean is, hi, we're here, we're thinking of you from the other side. We're helping you from the other side. We love you from the other side. You are okay. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is aligning for you. So that is usually why somebody from out there, from the spirit realm, is going to send you an 1111 these days. Another very common sign would be feathers. Usually it's white feathers. Usually it's small-ish white feathers, because human beings have a very, straightforward association between feathers and angel wings, and therefore the angelic realm, and therefore your spirit guides would very often send you a feather if they just want you to smile and don't want you to take life too seriously. Or if you have been feeling down, they want to encourage you and reassure you that, hey, this too shall pass. It's okay. So feathers. Moving on to signs that are a little bit more complex. Anything that has to do with manipulating the sky is a little bit more complex, but not really all that hard to do from the other side. So sending someone a rainbow, especially if the rainbow is very pronounced in the sky, like if the colors are really, really bright, and often it's, when you're seeing that rainbow, if you pay attention and you notice and you get that momentary sense of elevation in your body, almost like warm fuzzies inside, that is usually a sign that, somebody on the other side is thinking of you. So rainbows, definitely. Beautiful sunrises or sunsets. And more people actually see their sunset than the sunrise. So if all of a sudden you are glancing upon the sky and you're like, wow, this sunset is quite something. Either there is something interesting about the colors, something just, maybe something bright, or if, the sun looks strawberry color or too orange, or a mix of very, a mix of a number of colors. If you notice that the sunset is gorgeous, that is usually a sign that, somebody from the other side is sending you a note. In that same genre, but not quite the same, is noticing the shapes of the clouds. If you notice the shape of the cloud being a particular thing, that is often the sign from the other side, from your spirit guides. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but very often if you would be regarding the sky, watching the sky with multiple friends, every person is going to see something else entirely different in the sky. And that's why it's, very easy to even have arguments with people around you, like, hey, like that cloud looks like this, but the other person does not see that. It's because those signs are unique to you. And based on your vibration in a particular moment in time, a particular cloud may be looking to you a certain way. Where I'm going with this is very simple. The sky is one of the means, one of the ways that the other side is communicating to you through, right? And language of visual symbols is very much a beloved language. And so very often they would use the shapes of the clouds. And by the way, they don't have to look very definitively. In other words, it's almost like as you're looking and observing the sky, you're creating your own overlay over the sky or over each cloud, right? And therefore, a particular cloud may look to you like a particular shape or a particular animal. And if that animal has a meaning to you, then that is generally a sign. The next one over are repeating numbers. And I don't mean just 1111 because, kind of already discussed that, but any type of repeating numbers, especially on license plates of cars. Any type of repeating numbers or words or things that look like words, from afar. Sometimes like it looks like something is written on the bumper sticker, but when you get closer, it's like a different word, but you thought it was something else. That is very frequently a sign that it's a message from the universe. It's a message from the other side. So any type of word, by the way, right? So like we essentially are talking about the language of symbols, but any type of word that really sticks with you, that you see written somewhere and all of a sudden just feels like it hits you different is usually a symbol or a sign from the other side. So that, I don't know, like you may be driving by and something is written on the fence somewhere. Or like a graffiti artist wrote something underneath their art. And it really hits you. Or you may be driving by like 1,000 billboards, but there is one word on one billboard that like really hits you. And you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Or like a sentence or something. Or you see something written on somebody else's t-shirt and you're like, oh wow, that resonates. Usually it's a sign, right? Now, why do our guides from the other side even have to resort to this? Unfortunately, not everybody can hear them. Well, most people can't actually, right? So most people don't have clairaudience. Because of that, guides have to resort to, the various different ways to make sure that that they are around and you're loved and all of the good things. So words, right? Paying attention to random words. And by the way, these words don't even have to be written. Sometimes you may be passing by and somebody's having a conversation and they just say something and you overhear it and it may be a message for you or it may be a sign. Sometimes they would even send you a particular word when you're doodling, like when you're just like writing on like, drawing different swirls and twirls on a piece of paper, like absent-mindedly, all of a sudden a particular word comes through. That could also be a sign from the universe. So pay attention to these quote unquote random words. We're moving forward. Different natural objects in terms of complexity would be next. Different natural objects usually, let me narrow it down. Probably an animal or an insect, a bird of some sort would usually be a sign, right? Most likely it is a bird or an animal that is not very common. I don't know if you are in a city that has a lot of pigeons and you see a pigeon, usually doesn't mean anything. But if you are somewhere where a particular animal is very rare, all of a sudden you're seeing that animal, that is usually a sign. How do you dissect the sign? You're going to have to Google it, as funny as it sounds. But your guides do expect you to Google things. And then once you end up on that first page of results, you have to trust your guidance on which link to open. And it's usually very, very intuitive. Sometimes you may need to open multiple links until one hits home. But that is definitely how guides communicate to you. But, getting a communication, as far as an animal, can get harder to dissect. So, guides try to avoid it if they can, unless there's something that they really need you to be aware of, or they need you something. If they need you to pay attention to something, they would send you an animal. The next one over in terms of complexity is a dream, sending you something through a dream. Now, dreams can be a blessing because through dreams, you can show somebody quite a lot. Like you can show them an entire story. However, a lot of people don't remember their dreams. So your guides from the other side have to work extra, extra hard for these dreams to resonate enough and become ingrained in you and cause enough of an impression so that when you wake up, you don't forget about the dream. And by the way, even in dreams, they don't always tell you things straight up. Like, here's the message, listen to the message. No, very often it'll be like, you see it allegorically, like you see it happening, you see an event, you see a person, you see a circumstance, you see, a particular place, right? And then you're going to have to derive the meaning from it. Sometimes it will show you an animal inside of a dream, especially if it is, call it a mythical animal, like a unicorn or a dragon, although dragons are not that mythical, they're just not all that present on planet Earth right now. So dream state is definitely one where you guys would try to send you a message if they can. They may even send you a person or a being inside of the dream that tells you something, like a sentence, and that sentence really gets stuck with you, right? So dreamscape, very, very common. Other ways to receive messages would be through, I guess it's not all that different from what we discussed before around symbols and like seeing different words in the outside world. But sometimes they would send you messages through books, like through books that you encounter, through books that you yourself are reading or listening to, or just random books from the shelf. Like sometimes you just feel like walking up to a shelf and picking up a book and opening it up on a random page. And if you actually do want to receive a message from your guides and you think maybe they're not sending it, you may even play a game with the universe of saying, hey, I would like to receive some guidance from the universe around X, Y, and Z. And then you walk up to a shelf full of books and then you pick up a random book and then you think of a particular page. You open it up on a page and then the first thing that you see could be a message, right? So that's another thing. Through movies that you watch, same thing, right? Like, although it's not really as easy to say, hey, show me a message and then just fast forward to a particular moment in time in a movie. But usually as you're watching or consuming any type of content, your guides could be sending you messages through the content. The problem and why it gets a little bit harder to dissect is because there's so much information and so much content bombarding you. Say you're scrolling Instagram and you're following a bunch of spiritual accounts and all of them are posting memes and all of them are posting quotes. It's hard to say which one resonates with you just because it's funny or because it's deep, and which one resonates with you because it's the message from the other side. But that being said, your spirit guides are working really, really hard. They're working extra hard to align you with messages. By the way, through social media. By the way, what's really interesting is very often they would want to align you with certain people to follow. Like, you think sometimes that you're following a random person because it just popped up in your feed. But little do you know that it takes sometimes many, many trials, many tries and errors, many times for your guides to align you with a particular, mentor of yours or teacher of yours through social media. Like they may be gently nudging you in a certain direction and you may be missing all the signs and all of a sudden, somebody pops up on your screen with the right message and you're like, wow, okay, well, I don't know, this feels synchronistic. This person is for me. In the meantime, in the background, your spirit guides may have been wanting you to connect with that person for weeks. Sometimes, right, your spirit guides would send you a message through the person, the new people that you follow, right? Because there's something about their content somewhere from whenever that you are meant to align with right now because your guides know that that message is either coming or is already there for you to receive. That could also be it. Sometimes guides would send you messages through the happening or events in your life. Now, those are also not very easy to dissect, and they're kind of almost as hard as dreams, if not harder in certain instances, right? But it's usually the things that they send you. They're like the little precursors to learning. It's like the little warning bell or like the little alert of like, hey, pay attention, this is happening. And usually it's with events that come out of nowhere, like things that you were surprised by, or things that feel synchronistic. Like they will send you synchronicities very, very often. Synchronistic as in you were thinking about something, all of a sudden it pops up on your screen, or somehow you'll align with it in the physical. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Sometimes it's just something really unexpected happening that catches your attention and makes you reconsider something you've been planning to do or something you've been, thinking about. Sometimes your guides would send you messages through your pets. And that is, animals are actually easier in some ways to control and easier to pass the information along compared to humans. And so sometimes spirit guides would kind of like whisper something, so to say, to your pet. And your pet would, act a certain way. All of a sudden, maybe their behavior is going to change. And you're trying to figure out what, changed. And it's because your pet is trying to, again, warn you about something. And the reason that they are trying to do so is because your spirit guides have sent them a note, so to say. So pay attention to the behavior of your pets as well. Sometimes spirit guides want to send you a message by sending you a whole new pet. So if an animal accidentally comes into your life, and I mean something that means to be a pet, not like, I don't know, a lizard crawling down the wall, but no, like an animal that you're meant to have. Like sometimes like people rescue cats or dogs, or sometimes, I don't know, you get gifted a turtle or something, or like a goldfish or whatever. None of these animals are random. And very often, although not always, they are either a message or a symbol from the universe or your spirit guides or your loved ones from the other side. And of course, you're going to have to dissect the message. Sometimes they're just sending you a new pet so you don't feel as lonely. Sometimes they're sending you a pet as a sign that you have it in your heart right now to take care of somebody else. Maybe you need to take this additional responsibility. Sometimes they may be sending you a pet because, I don't know, your kid got very lonely and very sick and you're trying to figure out a way how to heal your kid. And they're like, hey, here's the pet. And you're like, but I don't have room for the pet. But you guys may be like, yeah, you do. That's going to be the new member of your family. And that is when really you have to adopt. I find it actually really, really ironic when I am reading or I'm watching this transpire where like a person rescues like a little kitten off the street or like a little doggy off the street. And then they bring it home and then for some reason, one way or another, they cannot keep it. And then they go on this merry-go-round on social media trying to find a home for the little animal. And they're like, somebody needs to take this little child of God and please, like, I want to find this person or like this baby a new home, but I cannot keep it. 99% of the time, the reason they cannot find a new owner is because they're the owner and they've already been found. So if you're listening to this and you've recently come upon a pet, know that the universe has aligned you with this pet and you're meant to keep it. You're not meant to find that baby a home. You most likely are meant to keep it. And very often the universe is going to test you because the universe is going to put an impediment in your way in whatever way, shape, or form. Maybe you think that you travel too much for work and there's no way you can take care of that pet. Maybe you brought home a new cat and your current cat really hates it. And you're like, okay, well, I don't want to upset my current cat. Well, you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to have to figure it out because most likely this is meant to be. Like that child of God was there waiting for you to rescue them. Another way that your spirit guides may be sending you a message is through an intuitive hit. An intuitive hit or an insight, right? Usually it is when you're not really focusing on anything or, not necessarily thinking intellectually about things. It's almost like your brain is a little bit unfocused. You may have asked a particular question way back when. All of a sudden, you get an answer. Sometimes you may even be woken up in the middle of the night and like a particular message or like a particular sentence or a particular word is somehow in your, just mental field, and you're like, oh, like I'm aware of this X, Y, or Z, or whatever that is. Very often these types of intuitive hits are a sign from your spirit guides. It is also kind of like almost like a precursor to clairaudience or claircognizance, clear knowing or clear hearing. And essentially once you start developing your clairs, and once you start getting communication from guides frequently, very often it's going to start feeling like an insight or an intuitive hit. And then only down the road you would understand that, oh no, it's actually a voice. And that particular voice has a gender potentially, when it has like an age, like it has a character, it has, its own sound vibration that is unlike anything. But initially it just feels like, oh, it's my intuition talking to me. So when you think it's your intuition talking to you, it's not always your intuition talking to you. Very often it's your spirit guides talking to you. Sometimes your spirit guides, and this is actually more the case for loved ones, as opposed to meaning a loved one that has passed on, as opposed to a spirit guide that has been guiding you from the other side. They may send you a symbol that means something to the both of you. I don't know, let's say that your mom passed away and she's always loved magnolias, and you're walking by in a botanical garden and there is this magnolia tree and it makes you think of your mom. Very often you're aligned with this magnolia tree because your mom from upstairs is thinking about you as well, right? So anytime you come across a symbol that connected the two of you or something that had meaning to the two of you, know that in that moment, the veil is really thin and you can communicate with your loved one because they're reaching out to you, and it's kind of like time for you to pick up the call, if that makes sense. All right. I actually wanted to get a couple of questions from the collective, on this topic, if anything, because I think that there's so many more signs and so many more symbols that your spirit guides could be sending you, but they are a lot more individual and less broad and general. And so, I just figured I'd take the questions instead. All right. As long as it serves the collective, I'm here to hear the question. What if my guides have sent me an animal and I have looked up in Google and I don't know what it means and it makes no sense to me? Is there a way for me to understand these symbols without looking them up in Google? Actually, really love this question. Thank you so much. Yes, the answer is absolutely yes. And by the way, very often, even if you look things up, you don't know who wrote those articles. That's one. Two, very often these meanings are so contradictory that you're like, okay, well, this could be life, this could be death, this could be love, this could be a firstborn, this could be a breakup. So which one is it of the 5 or the 6 or whatever? Here's the best way to dissect what your spirit guides are trying to tell you via a very allegorical symbol. First, you're going to have to close your eyes and focus on your breath and get really quiet. You don't want to be distracted by the outside world. And then what you want to do is drop into your heart. Imagine that your consciousness drops into your heart. Your heart has immense sensitivity and immense knowing as well. It's a very intuitive organ. And so you ask yourself a question. This particular symbol that I have been sent, what does it mean? And even if you're in a heart space, some of you may have resistance and you may be like, well, I don't know what it means. Then ask yourself the following question. If I knew what it means, what would it mean? Or if I knew what it meant, what would that be? And then if you ask yourself that question, you actually realize that, yes, you do know what it means. And usually this one word or a couple of words or a sentence becomes really clear in your mind. And catch that first thing that comes. Don't doubt it and write it down. Write it down, on a Post-it. Put it by your working table or by your bed. You will know what it means within a couple of days, right? Just let yourself and allow yourself the time to start connecting the dots. Because the universe only speaks to you if you listen. The universe only speaks to you if you pay attention. The universe only speaks to you if you start to reciprocate, right? So if it sends you, 10 symbols and there's nothing happening on the other side, there's no receptivity, the universe / your guide / your loved ones are going to stop. Because why bother, right? But the more receptive you are to these little symbols, the more they want to play ball with you. And you may go from 1 symbol a week or 1 symbol a month to like 3 a day. And that's how frequent it could be. It's because they want to talk to you. They want to support you. They want to be heard. They want to chit chat. They want to be understood, etc., right? So at least if they see you paying attention and trying to dissect the symbols, they're going to send you more, right? So don't forget to drop into your heart. And you know the answer. By the way, you may be surprised that whatever you hear in your heart of hearts, then you may Google what the meaning of a particular bird or animal may be, and you may find the same exact information already written there as further confirmation. All right, one more question from the collective. So how do the guides determine what to send you? Like, why would they send a feather versus like a rainbow? Well, good question. A feather is a small pick-me-up. A rainbow is a big pick-me-up. It also depends on what you actually pay attention to. So your spirit guides are most likely to send you the symbol that you're paying attention to and not send you a symbol that you don't pay attention to. So if 1111 means something to you, they'll keep sending you that. If feathers mean something to you, they'll keep sending you that. If rainbows mean something to you, they'll keep sending you that, if that makes sense. So that is the number one thing that determines it. The second thing that determines what symbol gets sent is how easy it is to dissect and how easy it is to notice and pull apart from the surroundings. For example, if we're talking about an animal, your spirit guide is going to have to factor in, what is the message that they want to send? Can they send it with an animal? Does that animal even live in the vicinity of where you are? And can they reasonably influence the animal to show itself to you on your road, right? So they factor in the complexity of aligning you with that symbol as well. And then afterwards, once that has been factored in, they also figure out, they also have to make sure that you would pay attention to the symbol and you would think that that particular animal is somehow unique or different enough from the rest of the surroundings that it is even worth looking up in Google, right? In other words, they want to make sure that you're going to think of this animal as something significant and worth paying attention to. Yeah. So that is mostly what determines it. But also another thing is whether they're trying to just lift you up and just reassure you that everything's okay, or they're trying to pass on a message. And they're trying to make sure that you change your behavior accordingly. If they're just trying to pick you up, if they're just trying to cheer you up, they'll just choose the simplest thing possible, probably an 1111, if that even cheers you up. When they're trying to pass on a message, that's actually more complicated. They're going to try to figure out, okay, well, what are my odds of this person remembering a dream? What are my odds of them receiving an intuitive hit? What are my odds of them paying attention to the license plates? And again, so they're going to, weigh their odds and what you're paying attention to and what you don't, and how easily they can pass on the message. And that is going to determine what's going to come through or not. I'm going to take one question around symbols. Why? The question is, why are my guides not sending me any symbols? Well, it is probably, let me take a step back. They probably are, you just haven't been paying attention. If you start paying attention, I guarantee you that the frequency of those symbols is going to pick up and you're going to start receiving more. All right, my darlings, I hope this was helpful. I'm sending you a big virtual hug. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.